Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast between LiquidTLO and Grez here on Metalopolis. This is game 2 in what I believe to be a best of 5 series. I don't want to watch every single game, just trying to cast the longer ones for you guys, as a lot of games seem to be under the 7-minute mark. And those games just have not been as interesting for me to watch. I want to see more late game, more macro play, more micro coming in. Also, it helps me not know the outcome of the match as I'm casting them all, because if there is only 2 or 5, or if there's only 3, 4, or 5 games, and I watch, or if there's 4 games and I only watch, like, say, 2 and 4, I don't know the winner of each. Now, coming in, we have Grez coming out as the pink Terran player. I accidentally used it as bright red, so I'll go ahead and change that in the second parts of the replay. Anyways, Grez as the pink Zerg player, pink Zerg versus LiquidTLO as the blue Terran. Now, LiquidTLO going for a 10 supply depot, maybe going for a 12 barracks. Yeah, also going for 12 barracks. I'm trying to figure out, probably going to put the barracks down over here, and now perhaps put a factory here, and then put a supply depot here. And that is probably one of the other ways that I've seen a front door being built by a Terran. Terrans really need a front door against Zerg, particularly because of the Zergling run-by. Lately, I've seen a lot of Zerg players go for an extractor first, but however, Grez going for a 14 spawning pool instead. So nothing too out of the ordinary here. Grez not trying to go for a fast gas into speedlings, just going for a standard 14 spawning pool, and now perhaps waiting to scout, or is he going to go ahead and try to gather up some minerals and then put down a 16 hatchery? Yeah, I think he is now going for a 16 hatchery. Grez miscalculating his minerals in just a moment, and now placing down that hatchery. So hatchery now down. TLO should have a little bit of an advantage in harvesters. However, TLO also fully on gas already, so 3 SCVs on gas, gathering those, gathering that Vespene gas, and probably going to be putting down what I expect to be a factory in just a moment. SCV now moving out. SCV of TLO does in fact see that there is a hatchery down here, so that hatchery is down, and now a drone coming out to make sure that no bunker is being placed down. A lot of Zerg players really want to be careful. If you ever see that SCV, you have to make sure that there is no bunker, even across a very, very large map like this. Marines now being trained up, so these Marines being trained up, taking 25 time to build. SCV hiding in the bushes right there, so the bushes do block line of sight. And now moving out even further, and now Zergling is now going to go out and move out to those Xel'Naga watchtowers. So those Xel'Naga watchtowers will be taken down. Most likely a Marine going to be going, perhaps head up to the Xel'Naga watchtower. No, heading all the way home. As this SCV still continuing to scout a little bit further, Queen making her way very, very slowly to this hatchery. And gonna go ahead and start spawning larvae. No, Queen now trying to chase down this SCV. SCV wants to get a good sight into the base. Does not see a Roach Warren just quite yet, so most likely gonna be heading off into tier 2. So Zergling's spawning pool into tier 2. Most likely the strategy for Grez in this particular instance. Grez now has 2 hatcheries up and running. A second Queen just spawned out, and now Zergling's out across the field. Taking a look at the production, one Zergling quickly getting taken down by this group of Marines and a single Hellion over here. So TLO not seeing an early Roach Warren, and knows that he can really deal damage with those with that Hellion. So Hellion now coming in to take down some of those Zerglings. SCV now trying to continue to repair. And how is this really going to work? Will this Hellion and these Marines really be able to finish off all of these units? That Queen with a very, very low attack, low range. Hellion now coming in. SCV trying to get in some repairs onto that Hellion as well. Nice splash damage coming in. And that bunker gonna get taken down, not cancelled in time. One Hellion getting taken down. Marines coming in with that single Hellion, so both sides taking some losses. TLO taking 150 or 200 minerals in losses as opposed to 225, and no SCV means no longer any SCVs to repair that single Hellion. Hellion trying to torch more of those units, and now pulling away, just constantly trying to use that flamethrower. Back and forth. That Zerglings may be able to get a surround. No surround yet. And now we have the metabolic upgrade for those, what eventually will be those speedlings. So that Hellion really needs to return back home. The Hellion does not have that infernal pre-igniter. And now going to a very, very quick starport. and also getting a command center as well. So TLO going for a fairly early command center, only has 23 harvesters. Perhaps we'll train up a couple harvesters and then lift off. Back over here, Marines sitting on this high ground, fairly well. No really way to get into this position here, and now we have a large number of Zerglings with that speeding upgrade, and those Zerglings were trying to push on in. Single Marine gonna get surrounded, and very nicely done, using that little wall-in area to make it so that those Zerglings are unable to get a real surround off. And now there are still 9 Zerglings left. SCV's gonna go ahead and try to repair this single tech lab over here. Viking now gonna move out in order to do some Overlord hunting. Only 2 SCVs able to prepare in this position. So that's really a bad positioning here, down to 125 hit points. Marines now being trained up, a single siege tank being trained up. Will it be up in time? Does not look like it, and this is looking very bad for TLO. TLO gonna lose the tech lab, and those Zerglings will be able to run by, but siege tank just comes out just in time. SCVs are auto-repairing on each other, and because of that, those Zerglings are now getting taken down. One final Zergling down to about 5 hit points, getting splatted by that siege tank. Viking now moving out, getting 1 Overlord kill already. Perhaps going for a couple more. I do not see any. Now going over into that ground mode and now doing some harassment, going after some of those units, and that Queen now trying to do some chasing as well. But that Viking just doing a good job focusing down those drones, and now Viking getting up to, I do not know how many kills, probably into the 6 or 7 range, and was able to just really hurt the economy of Grez. Grez down to 32 harvesters, while TLO has 29. Orbital command now being lifted off, and then will land off into this position. Single siege tank here, no siege tech being researched, just training up a Thor now, and getting an additional factory. Second Viking now being trained up. I'm expecting to see perhaps a medevac in a little bit to increase the movement of that Thor. That Thor with that medevac able to move fairly quickly around the map, and now the starport now moving away, perhaps to try to drop down a tech lab. A 3rd hatchery now being laid down by Grez. So Grez getting that 3rd hatchery. Zerglings now moving over, trying to see if there is perhaps an expansion here, and there is an expansion. Single Marines, Zerglings now trying to move on in, gonna get a quick surround on one of those SCVs. However, those SCVs will be able to just run in and out of here. That is not good for TLO. TLO really needs to change up the play a little bit. Thor now moving out, single siege tech nearing completion, and now we have a single bunker in play, a single bunker so that SCV or those Marines can hop into that bunker, and because of this barracks sitting off over here, there will not be any real way for those Zerglings to really be able to do any sort of run by. Perhaps they can try to run by along the back position the whole entire time, but the additional range will make it difficult. However, Banelings now being morphed in on these Baneling cocoons, so these Banelings are just going to run straight in and perhaps manually detonate into here. We do have siege tanks, and those siege tanks will be able to get a couple splats onto those Banelings, and so he has to really be careful with these Zerglings and these Banelings. Those Banelings take full damage from that siege tank, as it's a base 65 damage, and those Banelings deciding to die another day instead, or sacrifice themselves for another day. Don't any copyright infringements on that particular phrase. So not wanting to die, choosing to die a separate day or a separate time. Yeah, getting caught up a little there. Anyways, Grez now going up into 3 hatcheries, now sitting on 53 harvesters, and knocking a Queen over here, which is a little surprising, as the Queen really adds a lot of production to a single building. TLO now sitting with this Viking. Viking now trying to shoot down this Overlord, doing a little bit of that sliding action. TLO getting the Overlord down to 62 hit points. Viking now moving over, almost able to take it down. One more round, and that should be enough. Zergling sitting off in this high ground over here. So it's going to be 3 base play for Grez compared to the 2 base play of TLO. Army-wise, TLO still has the larger army, seeing that 1,600 minerals, and now macroing up to multiple factories, getting the Infernal Pre-Igniter due to the amount of Zerglings that are around the field, and so those Hellions will be able to just simply torch those Zerglings so easily. Viking now able to catch a lot of these Banelings in the middle of the field, so knows that even those Hellions are going to have a difficult time. The Hellions now moving in, able to get off a couple quick kills, trying to torch the rest of those Zerglings. The 3rd base has been taken down. Will those Hellions be able to torch? If they stop, they should be able to kill off every single one of those Zerglings right in a moment there. So Zerglings chasing down that single Hellion. Hellion may get taken down. Hellion down to... No, Hellion down to 10 hit points. And now able to pull away. So that Hellion able to deal 26 damage. Stay tuned for part 2 of this replay between TLO and Grez here on Metalopolis.